Hey folks, Quill18 here. I don't know if you've been following the news, but RimWorld Alpha 9, Tales o' Drinking, has been released, was released yesterday. I'm really excited for this new version of the game. I will definitely be doing a Let's Play. Absolutely. In fact, I'll probably be recording it as you're watching this particular video here. But in this video, we're just going to be reading through the patch notes and talking about the impact. Certainly the biggest thing, you know, right in the title is the fact that he has added, by he I mean Tynan, has added alcohol to the game. Which honestly, given the fact that these people are in some sort of hellish fight for basic survival, kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, it's going to be pretty important. So you can grow hops, brew beer, drink the beer, get inebriated thoughts, and get something that might impact your abilities. I mean, I guess being drunk probably has some sort of like health debuffs, for example. I haven't actually loaded the game yet, but will make you less efficient at things. Added special binge mental break, which actually, all right, I mean, binging is probably not going to be a good thing for these people, but it's probably better than starting a fight and getting themselves killed or injured. So that certainly seems like a good way. Well, I mean, it's not a healthy way to deal with stress, but it seems like an appropriate way in this context to have your people try to deal with the stress. Added Teetotaler. A teetotaler is someone who doesn't drink booze. And chemical fascination traits, which I assume is some sort of like alcoholic druggie. I don't know if there's any other drugs other than alcohol in the game, but I suspect that's it. Added hangovers. Beautiful. Lovely. Tales and art. So now we do have, we've had sculptures for a little while. You can make sculptures, actually maybe just as of Alpha 8, I'm not sure, which add beauty to a room, but now we can make bigger statues, including grand sculptures that are 2 by 2, which are quite big. I like how they now have built-in descriptions about what happens. They will depict events that happened earlier in the colony's life, including killings, drunkenness, vomiting, landing in drop pods, etc., etc., etc. This very, very much reminds me of some of the really interesting features you see in something like Dwarf Fortress. And it's not something that necessarily adds, I mean, it doesn't add any gameplay, but it adds so much more depth to a game that it's really interesting. There's a lot of stuff in this alpha. High quality weapons have art engraved into them, which is cool, and all weapons now have quality levels, including guns and bows, so we can have, you know, fantastic quality sniper rifles, which I'm really looking forward to. Old characters now appear at a low but regular rate. Now, I don't know what this means. I must have gotten old characters before. I mean, I've had people in their 60s before show up either as an initial colonist or as someone I could try to recruit. So I don't know, does this mean lower rate, but still regular? I'm not sure what this line means. But old characters have gray hair and tend to have age-related illnesses, cataracts, bad backs, which reduce their effectiveness. Again, maybe the gray hair thing is a little bit different. But I certainly have a old character who had cataracts. That being said, that may have just been a completely random coincidence. Maybe cataracts could affect everyone, and it was just a coincidence that it was an old person the last time. Old characters tend to spawn with higher skills, which is really nice. Maybe it has less to do with character creation, more like people who happen to wander through your fortress area. Since people don't age in crypto sleep, characters now have both chronological age and biological age. Even animals and mechanoids have ages. And one of those things that just, you know, it's not really gameplay important, but it's really, really cool to find out that while someone is physically 25, they're actually 100 years old. And dates are relative to a specific year. Game starts in 5500. Nice to get a specific number for that. Okay, new stuff. These are actual gameplay features that will probably have a pretty big impact. These personal shields, for example, I think are going to be huge. So these are one-person shields, which block a certain amount of damage from range attack, but also prevent you from shooting out. Great for melee fighters, which is great. I've certainly noticed in my very last Let's Play, I found out that melee fighters are actually pretty competent because once a melee fighter is in someone's face, that person can't use ranged weapons against them because every time you get hit in melee, it sort of resets your ranged weapon cooldown timer or warm-up timer, one or the other. And so this will allow your melee fighters to more reasonably or reliably get within melee range and makes that whole sort of thing much more viable. That's very exciting. Now you need artillery shells for artillery cannons, and the shells on the ground to explode, and I'm particularly excited about the fact that siegers will come with shells to bombard me, which might mean I can cause those shells to explode when I shoot that area, which is kind of fun. We can craft them, great. Added deterioration, so items left outside for a very long time will deteriorate and eventually crumble away, which, because right now, and throughout the course of the game, what you do is you just make a massive stockpile outside with your little beacon. But now, you might not want to do that. because a lot of stuff will just burn away. But your beacon still needs to be outside. So what you can end up doing is maybe you're going to want to limit your beacon, your trade beacon trade zone, to only have things that won't deteriorate but still sell okay. And then maybe what you can do is toggle things on. Like, for example, clothing probably deteriorates. But it's also a good thing to usually just sell from time to time. So maybe what you do is you have your actual inside stockpile right next to your outside trade stockpile, and you toggle on a critical priority clothing storage in your outside trade pile when it's time to trade things away. Or I don't know, maybe you don't care and you leave things go out there, and yeah, it decays in value over time, but you just put up with it and just try to sell it as quickly as possible. Surgery can fail now, sometimes catastrophically, just for added fun. Failure chance related to the surgeon's medical skill and the quality of the medicine. Makes perfect sense. You can now rescue incapacitated neutral people and heal them. Their faction will be appreciative. I think one of the mods I had sort of let me do that last time, and so it's a really, really cool little feature. Makes me feel good, so when neutrals get in a fight somewhere. Really like that. Guns have quality level, which affects accuracy, which we talked about up here. Heavy SMG, a new weapon. I like Psychic Foil Helmet. So presumably that protects you from various, those waves of psychic abilities that go all over and let those characters ignore it. But I like how you can wear a foil helmet. Added corn and rice crops. Always good to have more variety. Vomiting. Some diseases, drunkenness, crypto sleep sickness, and hangovers now cause people to vomit. It's features like that that really make a game. People can now get food poisoning. Bad cooks are more likely to accidentally poison meals. That's really interesting because that might actually bring back the value of the nutrient dispenser machine if you don't have anyone that has any real cooking skill, and it might be that much more important to embark with someone who's got a cooking skill of maybe 6 or higher. I don't know what the actual stats are. What is a bad cook? Is it someone with like 0 or 1 skill? When we get to 3 skill, are we immune to it? I don't know. I like game records total real play time per colony. Really like that. And this option here, added pause on load game option. This is actually something I personally requested. Because, I mean, I don't know if it'll affect that many people, but it was a big deal for me because I would load the game, especially with the mods. It would take, maybe 20 seconds to load the game. And in that time, I'm usually on my second monitor, I'm watching Twitter, I'm answering an email. I'm very distracted all the time. Or, because the important thing is I don't want to miss, especially for my videos, I don't want to miss a single tick of the game. When I'm loading, right? I don't want to load and then have like, oh, some event just like kickstarted, and then I have to start an episode and be like, oh, sorry, you guys missed this event, but here we are now. So what I have to do is I have to just stare at the screen nonstop with my finger on the spacebar, and then as soon as it loads, whack the spacebar to pause it right away. And it was just like a little quality of life improvement that like would have meant a lot to me. And so I asked, I said, hey, is this a thing you can do? And there it is, which made me really happy. Many new sound effects from Alistair Lindsay for UI, work, and combat, so looking forward to those. Miscellaneous improvements. Deep optimization, especially II, make big colonies run much more smoothly. Not that I'll ever get to a big colony, apparently. Maybe I'll get better. Bad thoughts from wearing tattered clothes, which is really good. I guess we'll have to monitor for that. But we're usually cycling through all the thoughts of our colonists relatively regularly, so when we start to see that that thought, will make sure to change their outfit. Apparel becomes damaged when an owner dies from violence, which makes sense. If you get shredded by minigun fire, probably that should put some holes in your shirt. It takes damage when it absorbs, right? So armor will become tattered and wear out. You can now mine uranium as opposed to just buying it from a mining ship, so that's nice. Okay, this is interesting. In that people won't put a priority, an exclusive lock on fires, which makes putting out fire maybe a little bit more reliable. Crypto sleep caskets are now sealed, come with warnings, which is important because the very first time I opened one, I'm like, what are these things? Open it, everyone dies. Ah, good. It can now contain deadly ancient defenders, which is really cool. There's some more crypto sleep changes a little bit lower as well. I like this. More things will work with the do until you have X option, because plenty of things didn't work because of reasons, because of different material type things, and it's really nice to have this sort of thing. Also, it's handy that it shows the number you currently have. Okay, this is a big one. We've been talking about this for a while, and like the last 2 Let's Plays, I keep saying it'll probably be really nice in the next alpha when this change happens. Eating now takes priority even over emergency work, doctoring, firefighting, if a colonist is starving, which is really good, because like you could have someone who's like on the verge of a mental break and won't go eat because they are currently dealing with doctoring and firefighting. So then you have to go and you have to turn off those two skills. And it's, I don't know, it's always kind of been a pain in the ass. Like, if you're really that desperately hungry, go and eat. If you're starving, if you're actually like gonna die and there's food. This is another huge one. Colonists, when hauling to stockpiles, always haul the max amount they can carry and drop the extra nearby if the target cell can't hold any. I think that will go a long way towards just speeding up and optimizing your colony in general, just by having people carry things more effectively. New little end game sequence to make things look a little bit cooler there. All right, this is probably the single biggest gameplay changer in terms of actual game impact. Player can no longer magically toggle power on any item. Rather, you designate power to be toggled, and the colonists go to do it. So if you have all your guns turned off, and you're getting attacked, in Alpha 8, you could select all your guns, hit the V key, which would turn them all on, and then you were fine. All your guns were on. Well, now, if you do that, they don't automatically turn on instantly. Instead, your colonists will have to go over and actually turn them on, which is going to delay your guns turning on considerably, which then gets to the point where, like, you're going to need to make sure to turn those guns on as quickly as possible, and you might want to consider leaving some or all your guns on all the time to deal with that sort of situation. Obviously, they still use a lot of power, so you're going to have to make a decision, make some hard decisions there. It might change the way we build our defensive structures. And in particular, though, in the mid to late game, I would probably always leave guns on inside my colony to deal with anyone who drops on top of me, for example, or make it that much more of a priority to just burrow into the mountain and put everyone inside the mountain as much as possible. Temperature now equalizes through both walls and roof/floor. Floor is a little bit weird to me, but yeah, because right now the temperature mostly just changed when doors opened, for example. And so now I think it's going to bleed through a little bit more, and I think that's probably a good idea. Lengthened day from 20,000 to 24,000 ticks. So that's a 20% longer day, if I'm doing my math well, and never try to do math on a live recording, kids. But 20% longer day. Now, that means it depends on you know, if the day and night are both equally lengthened, but might mean you just get more work out of your people in a day versus sleep, or at the very least changes the pace of things a little bit. And then the flip side is the month has been shortened to 12 days. I don't know what the length of the month was before, but now you'll cycle through the seasons. Presumably you'll cycle through the seasons at roughly the same time, but now you got, you know, maybe just a little less flipping back and forth sort of aggressively between day and night. Rework the auto-tutor. I love the auto-tutor feature in this game. I've never really seen one quite like it, and it works really well, where like the game sort of prompts you and reminds you to do something. You know, if it detects that maybe it's your first time playing and you don't know what you're doing, and it's not like a hard tutorial, just like, hey, maybe you should build beds. So they changed the way that they pop up, which is fine. Colonists are now bothered by people walking around inside the room while they sleep, which is probably a good thing. No more putting a work table inside of someone's bedroom and having it go, which I may have done before. People newly woken from cryptosleep have cryptosleep sickness for a while, which might make it a lot easier to pop the caskets and then, you know, arrest them, capture them, and try to convert them over, which, all right, it's fine. But more importantly, not just for your opponents, but it stops you from using cryptosleeps as an instant way to keep someone on ice. So, for example, there's one type of colonist who's like an assassin, and they have everything turned off. They can't do anything except shoot and melee, for example. And they're really, really good at that, but they can't do anything else. So for a lot of people have done with these people is they keep them in a cryptosleep casket until they get attacked, and then they pop them out of the casket for the fight, and then just put them to sleep, because they can't contribute anything else to the colony other than hunting. But this way they don't have to eat any food, for example. Well, this will potentially prevent that from happening. Depending on how long the cryptosleep sickness lasts, it might be quite brutal. So between this and the fact that toggling power on and off is a lot more difficult, I suspect Alpha 9 is going to be a lot harder than Alpha 8. And that's probably a good thing. I mean, the game's already pretty tough as is, but honestly, a lot of its appeal of games like RimWorld, Prison Architect, Dwarf Fortress, and so on is the fact that they are very difficult. That's where a lot of the appeal comes from, and it's probably okay to do something like that. Wind power varies over time. Very exciting. Fonts are now nicely anti-aliased, looking forward to that. And tons of other refinements, rebalancing, and bug fixes that I guess we'll have to discover as we play. So that's the run through of the patch notes. Again, expect a RimWorld Let's Play to be hitting the YouTube channel very, very soon. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.